They laughed at her head. They mocked her like a joke in front of the world. But when she took off her wig, the palace cracked open. Spirits from ancient bloodlines rose. And a forgotten queen's vengeance returned. This isn't just a story about beauty. It's about memory, betrayal, and a power sealed beneath a throne for generations. And when she whispered, "You stole her crown. Now I return her memory," even the gods stopped to listen. What happened next shattered Kano forever. Samobaba Tales presents. The prince mocked her big head, then she removed her wig and this happened. It was during the Harmattan in Kano, that season when the air turns to ash, and the sky looks bruised with secrets, that Amira was born. The dust swirled with whispers as if the wind itself had heard something it wasn't supposed to. Her mother, Morankeji, was no ordinary woman. She was a priestess's daughter from Ibadan, a lineage soaked in the ancient arts of divination, herbal wisdom, and spiritual warfare. Morankeji had trained under the sacred fig tree of Okarimo, where they said spirits still came to drink moonlight and whisper into the ears of chosen women. She carried power in her blood, the kind of power that frightened even other seers. But love, foolish, dangerous love, led her far from the sacred forest of her ancestry to the bustling markets of Kano. There, she met Alhaji Bashir, a revered textile merchant whose ancestors traced their bloodline to Fulani royalty. A man of wealth, honor, and deep northern roots. They fell in love across cultures, across languages, across histories soaked in suspicion. She brought kola nuts, he brought silks. She spoke in proverbs, he answered with poetry. For a time, they lived in their own myth. But not everyone celebrated them. At their engagement, a madwoman had stumbled in from nowhere, barefoot, her skin caked in river clay, her eyes wide like they'd seen beyond the veil of time. She pointed a crooked finger at Morankeji's belly and shouted, "She carries the skull of vengeance. You've brought the memory of gods into the north. The serpent will rise from sand." The guests laughed. They shouldn't have. Because 9 months later, Amira was born. She came into the world in the hour before dawn, the time when spirits still linger between the realms of sleep and waking. The midwives gasped as she emerged, not from pain, but from shock. Her skull was unlike anything they had seen. It wasn't medical. No doctor could diagnose it. Her skull was just large. Not grotesque. Just unsettling. Her forehead curved like an ancient crescent moon. And right in the center of her scalp was a spiral-shaped birthmark, one that pulsed faintly whenever the moon was full. Alhaji Bashir said nothing. Morankeji, however, only stared at her daughter for a long moment. Then, with trembling hands, she held her to her chest and whispered, "Amira. My princess of memory." From that day forward, the girl's head was wrapped, first with soft cloth, then more elaborate turbans, and eventually, by age 10, expensive human hair wigs shipped from Lagos and India. Her parents tried to normalize it, even glamorize it, telling her she was special, gifted, chosen. But the world did not share that sentiment. But children are cruel. By the time she was 8, Amira had heard it all. TV head. Wi-Fi antenna. Satellite scar. Headmaster's niece. She walks into the room 5 minutes before her body. But what hurt more than the jokes was the silence. The way adults paused mid-sentence when she entered the room. The way storekeepers avoided eye contact. The way teachers whispered, "She's bright, but strange." Amira found her only refuge in the world of stories. She devoured them, both digital and dusty. She spent weekends in Kano's public library, tucked in corners few visited. She read Yoruba cosmology, Hausa epic poetry, Fulani myths, and Igbo spirit quotes. She consumed oral folktales archived in shaky YouTube videos and old academic journals. She copied Nsibidi symbols into secret notebooks. She whispered Oriki into her mirror, claiming her identity in song. And then, one day, she found it. It was buried in the furthest back corner of the library, behind broken encyclopedias and forgotten local archives. A book with a leather cover that felt damp to the touch, though there was no moisture in the air. The title was scorched into the hide-like surface. The Rivers Remember, Forbidden Histories of Umoja the Exiled. Inside, the pages were a strange mix of languages, Arabic calligraphy, Yoruba proverbs, Nsibidi pictograms, and Latin annotations. But one page held her still like a spell. A prophecy. Written in a triangle of languages, almost as if it were calling to her specifically. When the north forgets the river and mocks the divine crown, the spiral child shall be born. Her head shall not carry shame, but memory. And her presence shall awaken the desert bones. The serpent shall rise when royalty laughs at the day. She read it again. Then again. That night, in front of her mirror, she removed her wig. Her spiral birthmark was there, glowing faintly. As if it had always been waiting for this moment. She reached out and touched it. And for the first time, it paused back. Not just a glow, but a flash. Images filled her head like a thunderclap, temples burning, women with shaved heads dancing in rivers, skulls with stories etched in their bones, colonial boots crushing statues carved in spiral patterns. Amira staggered back, sweating. From that night on, she could hear things. Not voices. Not hallucinations. But memory. The words started whispering to her, objects, places, even people. She touched the old gate at her school and suddenly knew it was once built on the ruins of a shrine. She sat beside a classmate and heard the child's grandmother calling her through time. At first, she thought she was losing her mind. Until she understood, she wasn't cursed. She was carrying something forgotten. Amira began recording everything. Dreams. Whispers. Symbols. Her room turned into a collage of memory fragments. Maps. Names. Spirals. She drew the faces of women she'd never met, but felt deeply connected to. She traced the spiral again and again, until it no longer felt like a birthmark. It felt like a key. She stopped wearing wigs at home. But outside, the world wasn't ready. So she waited. Planned. Studied. By the time she turned 23, Amira had grown into a kind of beauty that unsettled people. Not the kind you find on magazine covers, hers was older, deeper. Her cheekbones carved like they were borrowed from an ancient queen. Her skin the color of dust after the first rain, soft, brown, and trembling with promise. Her eyes, not black, not brown, but dark gold, like sunlit honey trapped in shadow. They held a knowing, like she'd lived through 10 lives and remembered everyone. Men didn't know how to approach her. Women didn't know how to place her. Elders lowered their gaze when she passed. Children stopped laughing when she entered a room. She wasn't just different. She was marked. Still, she rose. Amira earned a full scholarship to study artificial intelligence and machine ethics at Ahmadu Bello University in Zaria for her master's degree. Her research quickly set her apart, not just because of her intellect, but because of what she pursued. While others focused on smart cities, facial recognition, or automated weapons, Amira dug deeper. Her obsession. Teaching machines to understand indigenous memory. She was crafting a new kind of algorithm, one that could read oral myths as data, interpret sacred chants as code, and understand ancestral intelligence not as folklore, but as architecture. Myth, she often said, is memory encoded in metaphor. And Africa remembers through her stories. She designed an AI called Orikinet, trained on Yoruba praise poetry, Hausa chants, Igbo riddles, and Fulani proverbs. She fed it stories from griots, priests, and roadside madwomen who whispered secrets to pigeons. Her vision wasn't just to innovate, it was to awaken. The Northern Technological Advancement Summit was a yearly spectacle held in the heart of Kano, inside the royal marble palace known as Toro Hall. World leaders, scientists, royalty, and billionaires gathered in flowing robes and imported suits, sipping hibiscus cocktails under gold-plated chandeliers. This year, something unusual happened. Amira received a personal invitation. Not from the organizers. From Prince Zayono himself. He had seen her work, or so he claimed. Amira had developed an award-winning algorithm that could decode indigenous languages from ancient symbols, including those long considered dead. She had integrated AI with spiritual patterns, unheard of in formal tech circles. In truth, Zayono didn't care about any of that. He had seen a viral clip of her online. A blurry video from a university showcase. In it, Amira spoke confidently, her voice smooth, her face calm, but it wasn't her words that caught attention. It was a split second when a gust of wind blew off her head wrap. The spiral birthmark glowed. The internet erupted. Zayono reposted it with the caption, "She needs a bigger head wrap, or a stronger spell, loudly crying face fire #heavy-headed queen." The tweet racked up 4 million views. Amira saw it. She said nothing. She simply pressed download, saved the tweet, and returned to her reading. Now, weeks later, she stood at the entrance of the Royal Summit, dressed in a stunning off-shoulder emerald gown that clung like liquid silk. Her head was once again covered, this time with a sleek, black hood that shimmered under the palace lights. To the unaware, she looked like every other polished young tech expert. But beneath her calm exterior, something ancient stirred. She walked past elite guests who raised eyebrows, not at her, but at the fact that she had even been invited. Prince Zayono was already on stage, laughing into the microphone. Dressed in a white agbada trimmed with gold, he looked every bit the future king. Cameras clicked. Drones hovered. Social media was live-streaming every word. And finally, we are excited to hear from the girl who brought village magic into the world of AI, Miss Amira. The room chuckled. Amira walked up the steps slowly. Every heel click echoed like a countdown. She reached the microphone, her heart steady, eyes sharp. "Thank you, Your Highness," she said. "I'm honored to be here." Another chuckle from the crowd. Her voice was softer than they expected. Some guests glanced at their watches. Amira smiled politely, as if unaware. Then she tapped her tablet and brought up a slide on the screen behind her. "Our data is not just numbers," she began. "Our stories are not just entertainment. Our ancestors encoded memory into drums, names, chants, rituals, and rivers. These are not primitive relics, they are advanced forms of knowledge transfer. Before Python, there was E4. Before algorithms, there was divination. Memory is the oldest technology we've forgotten." The crowd shifted. Her tone had changed. She continued. "Long before your hard drives, your satellites, or even your written alphabets, memory was coded into the land. Into blood. Into skulls." Someone near the back laughed nervously. Zayono smirked. Amira kept going. "You erased them, the women with spiral skulls, the priests of Echo, the keepers of ancestral backup systems. You mocked their heads because they were too large to control. But their memories never left." She turned to the prince. "And you, Your Highness, mocked mine." The room froze. Zayono's smirk faded. "I was joking," he said, adjusting his mic, Twitter. Amira's eyes gleamed. "Funny," she said. "Let's finish the joke, shall we?" She reached up slowly, and removed her wig. Gasps broke through the crowd. Her head, bare under the palace light, was both beautiful and terrifying. The spiral birthmark burned like a live ember. But it didn't stop there. The entire hall trembled. The chandeliers above flickered. The floor beneath her feet vibrated. And then, like a domino of air collapsing, the memories began to scream. Not words, echoes. Cries from women buried under river stones. Songs from erased priestesses. Lullabies sung in forbidden languages. They poured into the hall, bouncing off the gold-plated walls like thunder in reverse. Guests clutched their heads. Screens cracked. Phones short-circuited. Drones dropped midair. One woman fainted. Prince Sayonu stumbled backward, face pale. The spiral on Amira's head paused again, brighter now, responding to something below the palace, something old. She raised her hand and pointed to Sayonu. You mocked my head to entertain a generation that lost its roots. But your laughter woke the seal. The floor cracked. From beneath the marble, a gust of wind shot upward, splitting the room in half with a cyclone of dust and energy. The throne behind Sayonu shattered. A voice roared, not aloud, but directly in everyone's minds. Do you wish to rewrite history? Everyone froze. The energy surged toward Amira. But she didn't flinch. She whispered. No. Let them remember it, forever. The palace windows burst open. Above the summit, in the skies of Kano, clouds swirled into a perfect spiral. Birds screamed. All of northern Twitter trended. Hashtag the wig was never just a cover. Hashtag she remembered everything. Hashtag the seal is broken. And the last image broadcast before the live stream collapsed. Amira, standing barefoot on the cracked stage, head glowing like prophecy. That night, Kano didn't sleep. The sky twisted into a spiral that mirrored the mark on Amira's head. Storms gathered without rain. Lights flickered in mosques, schools, and even the royal library. Thousands uploaded blurry footage of the summit's collapse. Some claimed it was a terrorist attack. Others swore they saw a spirit made of wind and gold rise from the palace floor. But inside the palace, behind sealed doors, something even older stirred. In a hidden chamber beneath the west wing, Queen Amina, Prince Zayonu's grandmother, sat in silence before a flickering bowl of ancestral fire. Her hands trembled. Before her, an old television replayed Amira's unveiling on loop, soundless, but powerful. The queen stared at the spiral glowing on Amira's head. She whispered. It's begun. Then she did something no one had seen in over 60 years. She removed her turban. Her skull was bald, perfectly smooth, but edged with faint tribal sigils that shimmered as the firelight danced. She had worn the second wig, long ago, the one called the Crown of Reversal, a cursed relic that could manipulate memory itself. Its power was intoxicating. With it, she had erased truths, rewritten history, and sealed the stories of rival bloodlines. Including Amira's. She thought the line was gone. She thought wrong. She whispered to her guards. Seal the palace. Begin the rituals. But it was too late. Amira, reborn now into her true name, and Amira, daughter of memory, walked toward the gates not with an army, but barefoot, unshaken, and unveiled. Her gown rippled like moonlit water. Her spiral birthmark blazed. The black wig she had worn for years. She carried it in her hands now, no longer a disguise, but a relic. The sacred wig of Iyayu, recovered from her grandmother's secret burial mound, hummed with vengeance. She stepped onto the tall marble floor. Every candle in the palace blew out. Every guard collapsed. Tapestries rustled as if wind spoke through them. Chandeliers trembled. Whispering gusts echoed through the halls, but not from outside, the whispers came from the stones. The queen waited in the grand hall, flanked by trembling priests, her face pale, her power sleeping. When Amira appeared, the room grew impossibly quiet. Her presence was blinding and soft at once, like remembering a dream that feels too real. Queen Amina gasped, her voice breaking. What are you? Amira stepped 15 feet from her. Her voice echoed through marble and memory. You stole my grandmother's crown. You buried her memory. You sealed her story under palatial lies. But you forgot one thing. She knelt gently, placing the sacred wig of Iyayu at the queen's feet. Memory doesn't die. It waits. The queen fell to her knees. What do you want? Amira looked into her eyes. Her spiral glowed, casting shadows on the walls shaped like ancestral spirits. Justice. Suddenly, crack. The marble beneath them split. A gust of wind burst upward. From deep beneath the palace, where ancestral bones slept, a form rose. Half woman, half tornado. Her face was veiled in swirling light. Her arms moved like rivers. Her hair spun like golden serpents in a cyclone. Her voice was neither male nor female, it was memory, prophecy, rage, and silence, all at once. She didn't speak aloud. She spoke inside them. Do you wish to rewrite history? The queen looked up, eyes wet. No. She turned to Amira. Let her choose. Amira stepped forward, wind coiling around her feet. I don't want to rewrite anything. She faced the spirit. Let them remember it forever. The spirit paused. Then bowed to Amira. So it shall be. She spun upward, sending a wave of golden light across the palace. Every wall flashed. Every hidden document hidden in the royal archives glowed with truth. Old paintings unfaded. Ancestral names returned to records. The forgotten were remembered. And then, just like that, the spirit vanished. Leaving behind silence and power. At Amira's feet, the sacred wig of Iyayu glowed brightly. The queen collapsed in tears. Prince Sayonu never recovered. He fell into a coma days after the summit. His last words, overheard by a terrified nurse, were, "Her head holds the truth." Queen Amina vanished from public view. Some claimed she fled to a remote village protected by spirit keepers. Others believed she became a wandering priestess, repenting for her sins. The palace was sealed, not with locks, but with protective symbols from 3 forgotten tribes, each inscribed into the floor beneath the throne room. But outside, a new future was being built. Amira did not vanish into exile. Instead, she returned to the edge of Kano and opened a school, not for elites, but for the mocked. It was called the House of Oju Oro, the Eye of Secrets. Its gates welcomed girls with unusual heads, spiral marks, voices that echoed, dreams that came true, and memories no one could explain. The building rose beside the old city wall. A blend of ultramodern glass and ancient stonework, with libraries of ancestral codes, AI labs that whispered when empty, and meditation halls carved with symbols no one taught, yet every student understood. On its front lawn stood a bronze statue. A woman with a powerful, oversized head. Spirals etched across her scalp. Snakes gently coiled into her crown. Her eyes were stars. Beneath the statue, a single quote. They mocked her head. But she carried the memory of gods. Inside the school, girls once bullied for their size, scars, or dreams now walked with pride. They whispered to walls and the walls whispered back. They built machines that spoke in riddles. They wrote poems in codes only dreams could unlock. And at the heart of it all walked Amira, unveiled, unashamed. In mirrors, her reflection glowed. Not just with her image, but with the echo of everyone who came before her. One evening, as the moon turned copper and lanterns flickered through the school, she gathered her students. They stood barefoot in the central courtyard. She raised her palm, and from the spiral on her head, a soft pulse of light emerged. Your heads, she whispered. Your marks, they are your legacy. You were not born wrong. You were born remembering. The ground pulsed. The trees whispered. The sky shimmered. And so began a new memory. One the world could never unsee again. If this story gave you chills, just wait till you hear the next one. At Samobaba Tales, we don't just tell African stories. We awaken the spirits, the secrets, and the shadows they tried to erase. Better hit that subscribe button, and turn on your notifications. Because the next tale might just reveal a truth buried in your bloodline. Speech balloon and tell us in the comments. What would you have done if your head carried the memory of gods? Scroll until next time. Remember, they mocked her head, but she carried the memory of a kingdom. This is Samobaba Tales.